Hello. Hi, everyone. We are live now. Since we had this COVID-19, we are closed. So we are doing telehealth. So we really have a great setup here for telehealth. So I could do this really, really easily. I always wanted to do this, but usually I never had time. So we did off and on. But this is something I am hoping to do it regularly, at least once a week. So what I'm going to do here, I will try to answer questions in our group, the fibromyalgia group, but it does not have to be fibromyalgia, any other kind of pain condition, anything. I will try to explain best of my. The problem here is, means I'm doing this for 30 years. If you know me, or even if you don't know me, I'm doing this for 30 years. From the beginning, what I have found out, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and also we got programmed that way. So the information is real power. So if you know something, that is the only thing that is going to help you. So without information, would be chasing like a dog chasing his tail, going round and round. So the question for today, when we polled, it got to my attention. It is a fibromyalgia question. That the question was why it does not show up in X-rays, MRIs, and why medicine does not work. This is a loaded question. So yes, I know we want some short answers sometime, but short answers actually do not do any kind of justification, because this is why you join the group, to get educated, to get the resources, and you want to know more about your condition. Diagnosis, no diagnosis, nothing really matters. But more you know, better you can make your choices, and better you are going to make your life different. So before we get to that, let's know a little bit about our medical, historically what's going on in medicine, because this is extremely, extremely important for you to understand. So maybe 200-300 years back, not that long ago, 200-300 years back, people used to die left and right. You have no idea who is going to die when. And the uh, you know the babies, they were born, they have hard time. Many of them, they never really survived. Many of the kids, they cannot make it to the adulthood. And all these deaths are happening, especially in millions in many different times. That was the number one cause. That is infection. So there are plenty of infection we did not know. We did not have good public health system. So we did not know about what is a clean water. If drinking any water was okay then, because we did not know much about what's going on. Because mind you, that time we did not know anything about bacteria, virus, or any kind of what we call as a pathological agent or disease causing microbes. It could be a virus, it could be a bacteria, it could be another kind of parasite. We know nothing about that. So everything was okay. So we can drink any water we want to drink. There were no food sanitization. We do not know what was safe food. So we eat whatever we can and we drink whatever we can without having the knowledge. The knowledge was not there because we did not have the tool. Okay. So when the tool got invented, like for example, where we can see the invisible thing, because that time we only rely on our naked eyes to see things. So if something is invisible to naked eye, it did not exist. So this is how many people, they got sick and they died. So the death was kind of tremendous. You have to be lucky enough to be old and to survive. So this is how we got So when the tool got invented, we can see something is invisible to our naked eyes. So that could be microscope, and the microscope got better and better and better. So we find out, hey, it might not be looking to the naked eye, but that is something out there, and that is making us sick. So that is the time our medicine really move on fast forward. Because that time, before that, actually, there's nothing called physician. Sometimes people will try to heal some way, somehow, do all kind of bogus thing. Like they will say, well, if you have a fever, your blood is too much in your body. So they used to remove blood. And these are very interesting historical fun fact. Means I love reading all this thing, and I do this. So all this kind of weird stuff we used to do because we did not have the information. So the tool was not there to see. So when the tool come, we are able to see things, like we can see, hey, this is the bacteria, and that knowledge grew and grew and grew. Actually 400 years back, around 1600, we find out like what is malaria that is doing, that was killing a lot of people. It actually can kill today. Then we know what is amoebic dysentery, amoeba, that is causing dysentery and diarrhea. Many people used to die like that. Then come antibiotics, and then the miracle happened. So that is the time, early 1900. So when we know and understand, hey, there are a lot of invisible organisms which are not visible to naked eye. We are able to see all these things using a specialized tool or tools. And now we can give a medicine, and then you're going to get rid of the infection. Then you will be alive. You are not going to die unnecessarily. But that was actually the invention of antibiotics and other kind of drugs that time. That was pretty much miracle. So we are dead before that. We don't have to worry about it. We know stuff. We are more safe. We know what to drink and not to go do, unhealthy practices of drinking whatever water. At least we can boil water to kill it. So all these things come up. So that was the beginning of the whole medicine, how we know it today. And that was extremely good because that actually saved life then, because we can fight all kind of bacterial infection and viral infection and all this kind of stuff. But the problem happened. That was good. That was a fantastic thing that we have antibiotics. So if someone have an infection, we could treat it. But the problem happened when we started applying the same model everywhere else. So we are looking for a cause. To know the cause, we are using a tool to know the cause. And then we know the cause now. We have to give it, which is obviously a chemical. All this antibiotic and everything, all these things are kind of pretty much a chemical. So we are putting a chemical to get rid of it. So this is a simple process, right? Now we apply the same process to everything else down the road. Even if today, the how the whole modern medicine works, it is the same way. If you have a problem, that is a symptom. So you have one symptom. So for the symptom, we need to know why or how. So why or how, we need a tool. So that tool is your whatever that is, X-ray, MRI, or any of these things. Now that tool should be able to show it. And then we are going to give a medicine to fix the problem. But the problem is this the right tool? But imagine, before the microscope, the tool we are using our naked eyes to look at things. So when the naked eye couldn't see it, we say, well, it does not exist. So when those people who early invented a microscope, they have been ridiculed. They say, well, your guy is talking nonsense. You are seeing things which is not there. It took us almost like 100 years to recognize, no, that tool is right. So the same way, if you think about it, today I'm not going to get into what is fibromyalgia, this, that. I'm going to do in a later video because I don't have that much of time. But this is a concept you need to understand if we have to move forward and understand it more. So if we think fibromyalgia is not only one symptom, like if you have a bacterial infection, like for example, I say you have diarrhea and you have a bacterial infection, E. coli or something like that. Yes, you can take a stool sample and look at it and you know what's going on here. Now you can give a medicine to kill it. That was simple. Well, it was not simple before, but it is simple now. Now we are applying the same tool. Now we believe that everything can be seen, like with, with the X-ray or MRI. Now we are looking to a symptom. In fact, fibromyalgia is not one symptom. It is a group of symptoms, and these symptoms can be 5, 20, 30, 40. I'm doing this for 30 years. So I know any symptom you can imagine, that is a symptom. So it is a group of symptoms. It is not actually a diagnosis. Your diagnosis is a name where you can treat, because that's what we invented 200-300 years back already. We know that. Because if you have a cough, or like, if you have any kids or grandkids, if you have, you have a sore throat or this, that, we look for strep throat, streptococcal infection in the throat. So you take a swab, look it under the microscope. Yes, I know it is a strep throat. Now I give a medicine, it kills the virulence or the bacteria, what is creating the problem, it goes away. But when we fit everything to that model, then we are wrong. That model is good because we cannot use the same for everything. Like imagine if you have to use, you probably, many of you do, or you probably have called few plumber. So the plumbing job requires a specific plumbing tool. So if you try to, a roofer comes here to replace your roof, and you give your plumbing tool to him, he say, hey, you know what? This is what you're going to use to fix my roof, or you can replace my roof. You just use this plumbing tool. It is not going to work, because for different issues or different problem, we need different kind of tools. So we cannot apply the same tool and say, well, you know what, that does not work, or we will have all these things. That is where the ignorance comes into play. So that's what we have done over the years. Yes, that was a great invention that time, and we counted on that, but now we apply the same formula everywhere else. So if it is a visible thing to X-ray, MRI, then it should be. Then obviously it is not visible to X-ray and MRI. That's why it is not showing up. Then what it is and how it is, I'm going to cover some other day, some other time. I don't have time today to talk about all that thing right here. But that is what is the problem. So if something is not visible, so the first logical thing, rather than asking the question why it does not show up on X-ray and MRI, the question is that if that is the right tool, that should be. Before I said, before we know about the microbial organization, yes, they were there, but we could see it through our naked eye, because the naked eye is not the right tool. So we need some other tool to see it. And sometimes we don't have to see it, because not always have a direct evidence. So like I can say the wind is blowing, but we cannot see the wind, but we can have indirect evidence. Like if we put a kind of a meter kind of thing, it can read the wind speed, or we can feel it to our skin. So not everything needs to be seen. We can have different kind of indirect evidence. But until and unless we know what it is, we are using the wrong tool, then of course things are not going to work because things does not work that way. So X-ray MRI may not be the right tool to whatever we are thinking to see it. So it does not show up. Now, talking about the medicine, again, I said you need right tool, you need a right solution. So in our body, things do happen for a reason. Like, for example, you have a fever. So when you have a fever, so probably you have infection. It could be viral, could be bacterial or anything. I'm going to tell you a simple thing. So when that gets into your body fights it to get rid of it. So in order to get rid of it, it creates different kind of chemical. Actually, we are just full of chemical. Many of course, they're all the hormones, they're chemical. Everything is chemical. Now, so when something invaded from outside and it get a foothold and create problem, so we actually shows a chemical imbalance. Okay. The same thing, not only that, if you are having diabetes, that is a chemical imbalance. It is your body. Anything else, any other disease or anything like that, your high blood pressure is a chemical imbalance. So if something is going on chemically, and of course, the right tool, so you have to treat that with chemically too. So is a chemical imbalance going on? You have a fever, you have an infection. So to treat that, the right tool will be the chemical, maybe a medicine, antibiotics or anything like that. Now, if your problem is something else, which is not chemical, now you try to treat it chemically, it is not going to work. So you look around your house, how many things you have, even if in a cooking utensils. So you want to boil pasta, you cannot use a cast iron skillet, just a flat one. You cannot do that. You need a bowl. So every job, everything needs the right tool. So if a medicine does not work for certain kind of condition, because it is not the right tool. This is what I want you to understand. So if something does not show up, maybe it is not the right tool to see it. So if something does not work, usually that is not the right issue. And this is where I talk about this all the time, because this is what actually happens. So if it is not a chemical issue, then what it could be? So if you ever had a back pain or a shoulder pain or a neck pain or one thing or the more, and the ultimate could be a diagnosis of fibromyalgia, these are all different names. Okay. And the name has to justify the reason why we created all the name to match up with the treatment method or the medicine. So we know very well about that's how our body is programmed this thing. So if we get sick, we know since our childhood, we go to the physician, get a medicine, and get better. Because most of the common thing that happens to common people since we are a child are chemical issues, maybe infection, all these things. So you take a medicine, you get better. Now, as we get older, a certain part of our life, I'm going to talk about that intensively, maybe in next week. So that could be other problem, and that other problem we call as a mechanical problem. Those are not chemical. So you cannot treat a mechanical problem, and that is the reason why your back hurt, your shoulder hurt. It cannot be treated chemically, period. So yes, we can use some kind of chemical to cover up this, that, but that it cannot be, those are not real treatment. So mechanical issue, if I talk about, I probably going to cover more what is a mechanical issue and how that works and all this kind of stuff. But this is what I want to emphasize. This is our actually basic thing of understanding, because we got programmed so much that this is a problem, needs to be diagnosed. So because seeing is believing, so if something has to be diagnosed, then we have to use a standard testing, which is called as a blood test. It should be show up in the blood. If that did not show, then we need to do X-ray, MRI, or anything, because we want to finding the reason. So if we can find a reason, or if we don't find a reason, no matter what, so we give it a name and we give a medicine to fix it. So the question was today, so why it does not show up? So my answer to that is, this may not be the right tool. So what is the tool? First, we need to understand what is the condition. If that is really a diagnosis, because we get stuck in diagnoses, but our body is the most amazing thing, which we don't know much about. Yes, we are trying to understand, and I'm going to talk about that. So you guys are encouraged to post more and more questions. So then I'm going to pick one and I'm going to address it in future. And we will try to do it at least once a week. And it will be Thursday at the same time. So you guys just tune in to this. And this is where together we are going to understand. So once we have some form of understanding, so we can take particular kind of, this is, I'm trying to explain things kind of in a broad base. So then we can narrow it down and talk about more particular things. So write down anything. So any question you have, just one topic, and I'm going to talk about this every week on Thursday at 10 a.m. And thank you so much for watching. Again, don't forget to post your question, and I'm going to see you next week. Thank you again.